Well, as I was talking about, all these fall leaves means we're going to be raking up a lot of leaves here fairly soon. And it's a good idea to try to keep these leaves out of the waste stream. Basically, a lot of times what we'll do is rake these leaves up, put them in plastic bags, and set them at the curb for the trash man to pick up. And what we really need to do is start recycling those in our yard. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually compost the leaves. Now, when you've got your bag of leaves, and you could bag them up just to transport them, you can add them to your compost pile. But before you add the leaves to your compost pile, it's a good idea to chop them up. Now, you can do this if you have a chipper shredder, or if you don't, you can actually put them in a pile and run it over them with your lawnmower. If you have a bagging lawnmower, that works really well, because then they're actually in the bag and you can work with them after that. Now, leaves, in addition to being added to the compost pile, can also be used as a winter mulch for some of those perennials that you might want to shelter from the winter. Now, we won't want to put those on just yet. We'll want to wait for the ground to start freezing and then put that mulch on. Now, if you don't have a compost pile, there's actually another way that you can use these leaves, and it is composting, but it's not a pile method. And what you can do is actually come out to your garden plot and put a few inches of leaves over the top. And we'll just spread them out here. And we could actually cover this entire garden plot with our leaves. Now, we won't want them too awfully thick, because we're actually going to come back over this with a rototiller and work them in. Now, you'll want to make sure that the ground is dry enough to be able to rototill. Don't rototill it when it's wet, because that'll hurt the soil structure. However, you can put a layer of these on and then work them in. Now, you might want to add a little bit of nitrogen to that, not a lot, just a little to help with the breaking down process. Till those leaves in, and if you have a whole lot, you could actually do this process again, and those leaves will break down over the winter, and then you can plant in to your plot in the spring, and they'll be nice and composted. Now, another way to compost without the pile is trench composting. So we could take our leaves, and again, for this, we might want to shred them up first, but what we would do is we've dug a trench here. It's about 1 foot deep, and we'll just lay some of our leaves in the bottom. Now, again, we want some nitrogen with that if all we have is leaves. If we had some green grass clippings to put in there, we could do that. And then what we'll do after we get our trench full is add a couple of shovelfuls full of fresh manure, or you can add some nitrogen. That fresh manure will also add the nitrogen to it. And then what we can do is just cover over that trench with our soil after we've got our trench of leaves in there, and again, we'll be able to compost. Now, there's one other method of composting without the pile that's very handy to do, and this probably isn't large enough for a large volume of leaves. However, it is very good for any kitchen scraps that you might have. Now, when I talk about kitchen scraps, I'm excluding any meat or dairy products, because you don't want those in your pile or in your hole here. And what we're basically doing is composting in a hole. I've dug a hole here. It's anywhere from 12 to 18 inches deep, and then we can just put our kitchen scraps as we get them in that hole, and you can shred them up if you want to. That helps them break down a little bit faster. And then once we've got our kitchen scraps there for the day, you can put a couple of inches of soil over the top, and then as you get more kitchen scraps, you can continue filling that hole until you've got it full. And those will break down for you over the winter. And you can actually do this in the summer too, but it's a kind of a smaller way to get rid of those kitchen scraps. So these are just a few of the ways to keep some of that organic matter in your own garden and out of the waste stream. Well, while we have been raking a few leaves, most of them are still on the trees, and right now they look spectacular here at the OBGA complex. We thought we'd show you a few of them.